Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Turner Fan 77 and my partner in crime, bearded four eyesman,
Going
Adam.
home.
How you doing, man?
Not too bad. Don't have the four eyes on tonight.
No, you
Trying a
don't.
little something different here with the without the glare, so I can actually just kind of enjoy seeing you and then just chatting, so I don't have to keep moving my head up and down and out and around.
Right. Well, welcome. We already got someone in the chat.
Oh
Thank you, Caprice. I don't want to butcher your name, but
yeah,
thank you for joining us.
thank you.
Welcome to episode 2 of aren't even supposed to watch this today, where we're taking a look at Kevin Smith's Mallrats. We're going to do a deep dive and find out what we think. So, Adam, when did you rewatch this?
Well, I rewatched it literally today. It was
Today.
the afternoon. Yeah.
What's up, Michael?
What's up, Michael? Thank you for being here. Yeah, I do appreciate that. No, I rewatched it today, and it was just kind of one of those things. I was looking forward to it again, but there were parts of it I was like, I don't really want to actually have to critique it because
Right.
I'm gonna I'm gonna kind of tear it to shreds. But there's parts of it that I still really enjoyed and I really liked. And it's hard to believe that it's now what 28, 29 years old, almost 30 years old.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that Kevin Smith has been making movies that long. I mean, he
Yeah,
was,
94.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, and what's even more bizarre, and I know I'm kind of skipping ahead here, but it's hard to believe that he had the script and or story done for Dogma before he even had it done for Clerks. That's how long
yeah,
he writing that one.
that's
So,
crazy. I mean, you go back and listen to his interviews. I mean,
mhm.
his mind was always working, and
Yeah,
that's the type of writer he is.
yep,
Um, and I dig that he was making a shared universe
hmm,
before Marvel and DC were doing it
yeah,
on film.
yeah. He wanted everybody to be a part of that, and he wanted everybody to enjoy it. And of course, he wanted to make money. You can't do this without wanting to make money.
Right.
But he wanted to make a universe in and of itself too that everybody could enjoy, relate to, whatever you want to call it.
And he was making it with his friends.
Hmm.
He got shit
That's a
on
big part.
for that, but
Hmm.
it made it
That's
more
a big part.
relatable.
Yeah.
Okay, so I dug up just a few more facts about this movie. This was we got a comment here. Um, hell yeah, the View
The View
Askew
universe,
universe.
of course.
Thank you, Michael, for that.
Yes.
This was Kevin Smith's first big studio film. He sold Clerks to who was it? There was the
Mir-
Weinsteins, but
yeah, it was
whatever.
a Miramax, I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
Miramax,
Yeah.
that's what it was. Then Universal came knocking on his door. Thought he was making a big hit.
Hmm.
Not so much. Um,
Yeah, I can honestly say it was under Gramercy. That is true, because when
yeah.
the Gramercy thing pops up, you're like, is this a record or is this a movie?
Mm-hmm. Was released in 1995 by Universal under their Gramercy. I can't say that Gramercy Pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's for like the small indie label or indie
Yeah.
movies.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where it gets bad. It basically came out and died in the same weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, the story goes they showed it at Comic-Con, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And it blew up at Comic-Con, and everybody thought they were going to have a huge hit. But what they failed to realize, was showing it in front of comic book people.
Yes. Thank you.
And it only made $2 million in the box office. Yeah,
And I think it had a budget of over that, didn't it?
I think it had like a $30 million budget.
Yeah, something
around
like that. Pretty high, yeah. If I do remember rightly.
But it came alive on home video.
Oh yeah.
Once it hit VHS and then DVD,
Mm-hmm.
it blew up. This is a lot of people's gateway to Kevin Smith. A lot of people saw Mallrats before they saw Clerks,
Mm-hmm.
and then they're like, "Oh man!" You talk to anybody our age, and 9 times out of 10, they know exactly what Mallrats is.
Oh yeah. I mean, I know me personally. I mean, growing up in the 90s, the big thing was he would yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
right. And that is correct. Caprice definitely, for sure. Now I know that again, growing up in the '90s, when I would get, we got video game magazines sent to our house, Game Pro, Nintendo Power. Well,
Mm-hmm.
Game Pro had more of the ads in it than Nintendo Power did, of course. But sometimes the ads in Game Pro, they would be ads for movies, and there
Yep.
was a Mallrats ad in a couple of the ones that I remember it being in, and it wasn't something that I saw in the theaters because I was only 15 when it came out, but it would have been, of course, when I knew who Kevin Smith was after watching the VHS of Clerks so many times, Mallrats was definitely one of the first DVDs that I got because I enjoyed it so much. That was again my foray into the View Askew universe, if you will, too.
I remember sitting around with my buddies at parties, always popping this movie in, drinking,
Mm-hmm.
having fun, and just loving this movie.
Mm-hmm.
But the key thing there, when we were kids,
Yes.
when we were I won't say kids, teenagers,
Mm-hmm.
late teenagers, high school era, because it came out I said 95,
95, yeah,
96.
I think
Michael
he got
coming in.
Yeah,
He said
$6
he
million budget
corrected us.
for marketing, and that's it is true. I mean, I can understand why it did because, if you watch, and I know these are things we might end up getting into, but there's little side documentaries about this one and how they wanted to market it as like the I forget what he said. It's not the Animal House of the Night. Yeah, I think that's what.
Yeah, they were gonna make Animal House money.
Yeah, like they call it. I'm pretty sure they called it the Animal House of the '90s. That's what he wanted it to be,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what they kept saying in like the behind the scenes type stuff, and it just it never panned out to be that. That's for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so before we get into this, what did you watch it on? Show us.
My copy here is the very first one of it that came out in 1999. This was the collector's edition from Universal. Has the pretty standard Mallrats poster on it.
Yeah.
Came back with some of the nice artwork on the back and all the bonus features and all the extras. And what I was very surprised at about this release, even being from '99, it had a very nice DVD, Mallrats, and of course there's a booklet. I'll try to pull out the booklet here. But while I'm speaking of the booklet, the DVD itself had a bunch of Easter eggs on it.
Yeah.
And there's tons of the Smart Porkies. Yeah, that's the Smart Porkies. That's what it was, not Animal House. It was the Smart Porkies is what the studio wanted. So it comes with a again, this is from '99. It comes with a little book, and it comes with a comic pictures, kind of, if you will. Sorry for the glare there, but just kind of pictures of the cast, crew, and little story right there, a little story that comes with it. But this one, I was very surprised when I started watching all the deleted scenes and what I was able to find in the deleted scenes was the crazy beginning that has so much information in it that you hear throughout the film that he didn't use. And of course, I'm sure we'll come back to that here in a second. I didn't want to reveal too much of that.
Caprice says, I love that. That he has the DVD. I have that one too. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, I have that one, but it's story. I got this 10th anniversary one. Just a regular.
Yep.
And then I have. I keep my slip covers in.
Oh yeah, hey, you got to keep them nice. Yeah,
I have the '90s. I don't know if you can see with the glare. It kind of opens up.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't notice that one. That's had that.
It tells you the year, what's, and the other stuff that was in the headlines and stuff. Move that out of the way, and then I have the Arrow Blu-ray, which I love this release. Oh,
that's the one I want to get the 4K of. The Arrow.
Comes out in June.
Yes.
Nice slip, loaded with special features. You got.
Sure, it probably puts his DVD to shame with the features that are on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It comes with a little booklet, about the cast, and then just as we were talking before we went on live, the blueprints that they show in the movie.
It's awesome.
And then there's reversible artwork, and it's hard to tell.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I love this release. I will definitely be getting the 4K when it comes out. It's this exact same release, but 4K.
Just the 4K. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm a sucker. So
yeah. This will probably be one of my double dips. Eventually, having the DVD of it and then having the the 4K of it.
I love this.
Probably gonna skip
interviews.
Yeah.
On this. Okay, so I'm gonna pull up my notes here.
Sure.
Take some notes. Okay, overall, what do you think? What on a scale of 3 or on a scale of 5, 1 through 5, what would you give this movie?
I mean, upon initial viewing back in the late 90s, early 2000s, when I initially watched it, I was like, oh, this is cool. I really like it. So I probably would have given it like a 4. But as I've gotten older, rewatched it, become more familiar with Kevin's work and how he operates and the things like that. Even as a fan of the movie, I think I'm going to give it 2.5 or a 3 out of 5, just based on, so much that's going on in it. His
thank
shirt,
you.
Yeah, your shirt's dope, by the way. It's very
cool.
But that's, probably a 2.5/3.
Yeah, I'm sorry here.
Oh no, do you think?
Let me put that back up there. It's hard to do it all at once. I'm with you. I give this a 3. Like I said, I remember loving this movie when I was a teenager, watching it, partying with friends. But man, as we get older, this is very juvenile.
Oh yeah, very sophomoric, as I mentioned in the one text I meant. Very, very. They call it the almost like when a band puts out an amazing first album, it's the second album blues. That's kind of what I saw here too. Was the second album blues.
Okay, so I'm just I don't want to go. How do you want to start? Do you want to go in chronological order?
I mean, I think
you have a book of notes. Okay.
Yeah. I made I can tell everybody, I made 4 pages worth of notes on this one, and it's amazing because I started noticing things that were just a lot more, the sophomore curse. That's right. When you talk about things, but it's very, for anybody who doesn't know, watching the beginning of this is very misleading to a point, because if you don't watch the deleted scenes, or you don't watch what would have been the true beginning of this, there's 25 minutes of a beginning that it was not there. So when people, when you watch this, you think, oh, okay, I know what's going on, and do you really? Because they mention several things throughout the movie that are from the deleted scenes, that from the deleted beginning, that I didn't know that's what it was until you watch the deleted scene.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good kind of place to start, is just the beginning, and knowing that, that there was a beginning before the beginning that they never got to show. Because I know even in the deleted scenes, it's very, very crappy.
It's terrible.
Oh yeah, it's
terrible.
Shot very, very badly, and so it's not cleaned up at all. Yeah, that's 20. That's what I mean. 20, almost 25 minutes. Or 28 minutes till you get to the beginning. And so, that's what the whole thing is. So when you finally get a chance to actually watch it, you go, "Wow, this is boring."
They made the right decision cutting.
Yes. Oh God, it's so boring. You just want to almost turn it off, because you're like, "Oh, so boring."
I do love the opening, or when you get to see Brody. I love Brody. Brody is, if I could pick one person to identify with, is Brody, for his comic book love. Okay.
Yes.
I there's just little dialogue in there that I feel it. I've said this shit.
Oh, me too. I mean, the Brody is such an iconic character. My little brother named his first child after Brody. That's awesome. Literally my nephew's name is Brody. That's his first name. But my brother liked that character so much that he ended up meeting a lady, and they had a kid, and their first kid's name was Brody. But
That's awesome.
and some of his the
Me too.
yeah, and like the just some of the things he says. I mean, the one that we still use to this day, I'll send him a text message every now and again, and I just say, "No, Hartford, the whale. Yeah, they might be Vancouver once, twice in a lifetime." Like that.
Yeah, that's in the opening. I mean,
My little brother's a huge hockey fan, and he was like, "Yeah, the whale doesn't even exist anymore." He was like, "That was a '90s thing. The Hartford's not even they're not even a team anymore."
When you got Shannon Doherty sitting there. I mean, she's knocking on his head. It's like,
yeah, it's like,
it's so iconic. I love that opening scene with her.
It sets it up very well for his character throughout the movie, because it just kind of shows who he is and how delightfully juvenile his character is. I mean, he's
lovable.
So, yes, and he's smart. He's got that quick wit, and he's got that very much almost thesaurus of language that he uses to describe things, which is great, because that's the kind of stuff I love. I love wordplay, and I love the way he's also got one of the greatest lines in cinema history, and I don't care who you are, and if is no hell hath no fury like a woman scorned for Sega. That's like one of the greatest lines of all time.
It's the boring oil, but the chemistry that Quentin I really agree with that. What's up, Ben Buster?
Ben, what's going on?
Kevin Smith movie we were just saying earlier. Mallrats is kind of the gateway drug to Kevin Smith film. Because a lot of people didn't know Clerks was an indie film. Mallrats was his Universal Pictures big release for him, and kind of sucked.
It's hard not to say that it didn't, because even upon further watches, no matter how much you like it, you're just gonna pick it apart. I mean, even some of the continuity, some of the cut scene, the way the scenes cut, it's
and he cut it himself too.
Yes,
he cut it.
Sure, he did. Him and Scott Mosier.
Yeah, they work great together.
Oh God, yeah.
And then going from Brody's scene, you go to Quint's scene with what's her face? I can never say her name.
Claire Forlani.
Yes.
Yes. Her acting is for anybody in the chat or anybody in watching, Claire Forlani's acting is just so abysmal in this. Like, it's
her
just
looks is
terrible.
In this, to me.
What's that?
Her looks.
Yes.
She's a beautiful woman.
Has that kind of that nerdy cute look, the nerdy girl next door look, to her, but she just the overacting of every time she says something, she it's almost on an inhale, and it's just and it's you can hear it every time. She does that, and it's just it's rough.
And then you get a call back to Clerks, to Julie Dry. I love that. I was like, I said,
yes,
shit, that's a callback. And at that time, you didn't have that, maybe except in what's his name movies. He did the 16 Candles and
John Hughes,
John Hughes movies. Didn't his movies connect?
Yeah, some of them did, because they were all shot in Shermer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Clerks, you can't go wrong with Clerks. Go back, Caprice, if you haven't seen our first episode. It's Clerks. It's on my YouTube. That was fun.
That's right. It is a good one.
What's up, Movie Hunter? How you doing?
Movie Hunter, yes, please. Movie Hunter, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
Really appreciate that. Appreciate it. You guys are all the best. Yes.
I forgot. Sidetracked.
Well, and I'll tell you, just like kind of what I wrote down was just it's a very 90s aesthetic. I mean, the whole cast is very 90s.
Yeah.
Very you got Jason Lee, Claire Forlani, Joey Lauren Adams, Ethan Suplee. These are all just 90s staples. They're all you look through everything 90s, and they're there. I mean, that's what made it so. And it was the end of it was the very end of, that mall aesthetic, if you will, because I mean, you ask a kid now about malls and they go, "What? What's a mall?" I mean, they may know outdoor malls,
Hmm.
but they don't know the indoor aesthetic of a mall,
That is, yeah, very 90s. Very, I have so many memories of being
Mhm.
in the mall. That was the thing we
Yes,
did.
of course, of
Yeah.
course. I mean, all the neon, like they show all the neon in the background from the
Hmm.
food courts. How many arcades I
Yeah.
went to that had that neon above the arcade?
Hmm.
That was
Well,
my
Ivan's Castle, and I
yeah
can't
my
remember the other ones.
mine and my brothers. There was this one that we used to visit a lot. It was called Crocodile Alley, which I always thought was a cool name for an
Yeah.
arcade. But that one, it had it was a pool hall. It was a pool hall that was attached to an arcade, and it had this, that neon light aesthetic to it and
Yeah.
things like that. And but there was just there was a whole different vibe in the 90s with malls, and so that it kind of pulls that mid 90s vibe of the
And
mall scene in there very, very well.
then you get the Kevin Smith language for the name of
Mhm.
the
Oh
for
yeah,
some of the name. You got
that's
Carpet
literally the
Muncher.
first thing that I wrote down was rug munchers and
Yeah,
burning
Rug
flesh
Muncher. Yeah.
and buy me toys, just
Yeah.
all the different, the names of them.
What?
What? It's all right, it's
Yeah. We don't hate you.
okay.
Go
Oh,
check it
we would
out.
never
Um,
hate you, movie hunter, never.
yeah. Definitely check it out.
Hmm.
It's an hour and a half, and it's about an
Yeah,
hour and a half.
yeah. There's no
It's not
point.
very long.
Uh-huh.
There's not a like I told him earlier. There's not a lot of meat on this bone of this movie.
Yeah, it's surface level all day, every day.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, that's for sure. That's all right. Uh,
Oh no,
I
I'll
never
never
hate
hate
you. But
you.
yeah, I was like, but you
But
need to
you
be
need to.
right. You're damn right there.
He's
Yeah,
halfway to
halfway to
buy
buy
me
me
too.
toys. Yeah, that's right. But no, and that was like that's where I went. To um and it's like one of my other things that you start noticing in the background are things that you you wouldn't necessarily notice if you hadn't grown up in that area. Now these things are vintage. They're
Yeah.
vintage. And one of the things that I still think is one of the best pieces of the set in the background, because that thing is probably worth so much money right now, is that original Comedy Central globe, the light in Brody's
Yeah.
basement. That was like
Hmm.
that was the original Comedy Central logo globe, and that thing
Yeah.
was that's when Comedy Central was almost like a pay channel on cable, and
Yeah.
having that on there. That's how long ago that was. So as you can see, that was I always said to myself, if I could pick one thing from the set, that's the one thing that I wanted, was that Comedy Central light that was on his wall.
I think I would take the comics. That's just
No,
me.
yeah, of course, because you're a
When
comic guy,
one of my favorite lines in the movie is when Quint and Brody meet up
Mm,
at Brody's place, and he's walking down the stairs, and
mm.
they're talking about comics, and he goes, "I tried to teach you how to handle comics, but instead you wanted to go outside and
Play Little League.
play Little League." Yeah.
That's right.
Um,
Hell, it was like touch not lest ye be touched. You
yeah.
know that and that is all like, to a point, that is all like quintessential Kevin
Brody.
Smith,
Yeah.
language, that goes on in his movies, and I wrote that one down. Um, playing, and that's one of my other favorite lines from that scene is, I'm playing the role of a concerned guy here, and I've used that in my adult life. I literally have used that in my adult life,
Yeah.
in the situations where it might not be fun at home, but I've used that. I'm like, look, I want to know what's going on. I'm playing the role of a concerned guy here. Tell me what's going on.
Yeah. I do too, Mike. I lost my notes here.
Yes.
Um, Going back to Brody,
Hmm.
I mean, that the opening scenes with him, and when he gets to the mall,
Yeah.
and he meets Ben Affleck. Now he is unique, but I saw in an interview with Kevin Smith, and this
Hmm.
really, really stuck with me. Everybody, here it goes. He says, as soon as the internet hit, everyone talked like Brody.
Hmm.
Um, I think he's 100% right on that.
Yeah.
Because you didn't see outside the way he talked about comics, movies,
Hmm.
there was no internet, you know.
No. Mm-mm.
But if you had that circle of friends,
Yes.
this movie, you just related to it so much.
Oh yeah. I mean that I love. I mean, I wrote it on my very next page here. I love the smell of commerce in the morning. You know
Mm-hmm.
that is one of my favorite lines when he goes in there too, and he's like, you gonna say something? Yeah, about a million things, but I can't express myself monosyllabically enough for you to understand them all. Like, such a great
Yeah.
line, and that's where my love of wordplay started coming into, is watching a lot of Kevin Smith movies, and he, when you can literally tell someone off using big words and they kind
Yeah.
of don't understand, and it's
Yeah.
a great thing.
And I think that's him growing up
Mhm.
nerdy and overweight. You know, you got to hit him
Yeah.
with different. You can't hit him
Yeah.
with fists. You got to hit him with your mind.
That's right. Yeah.
I honestly believe that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was definitely.
Yes,
Yeah,
I agree.
but that's true. Oh yeah, we'll be getting there. I know I have that all written down here in a second.
So Brody bumps into Ben Affleck. You get
Mhm.
introduced to I want to say Holden, but that's not his name. That's
No,
Chasing
but
Amy.
it's oh God, what I know
Ah,
Shannon, what's his name? Yeah.
yeah, Adam, I'm the same way.
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah. That was one of my Shannon, I forget what his last name is, but his
yeah.
name's Shannon.
Fashionably male. We'll just call
Yeah,
him.
fashionable male, that's right.
Yeah.
But yeah, the idea that he's but I'll tell you, one of the things that when you see him, when you immediately get into the mall scene though, and one of the things I did notice when you first get in there is where he talks about that, from that, those deleted scenes, everything like that, about the new age porkies, if you will, and we might come back to that. But that's what they were trying to do. But like, that's where the slapstick stuff starts, when he hits his head on the piece of, the stage,
Scaffolding.
guys
Yeah.
coming right. Yeah. The scaffolding. He hits his head on that. So,
Yeah.
that's right, Shannon. But yeah, that's where I was like, that slapstick part of this movie comes in, and it really, like, I don't know, it kind of takes a turn from there, but it also doesn't. It's just one of those things I noticed after multiple watches. I was like, oh, there is an element of slapstick to this, very much so.
Shannon Hamilton,
that's right.
Pride of the Fashion Law.
Very uncomfortable place. That's correct.
Yeah.
Like the Volkswagen.
You see how young Affleck is there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I will always love Kevin Smith collabs with Ben Affleck.
Mm-hmm.
Them two, no matter how big Ben Affleck is, when he came back to,
yes,
and we'll get to it. When he came back to Jay and Silent Bob reboot, I teared up because I loved that moment when you saw him and Joey, and then you saw Jason Mewes' kid with him. Yeah.
I mean, the best is I think. Now I can't wait, because I have a small, I could write a small, encyclopedia about Dogma when we get to because the Dogma is going to be the one that I'm going to sit here. Hopefully that we can do about 2 hours on Dogma.
Oh yeah, we'll go as long as you want, man.
Yeah, because that's my but we're seeing him, but seeing him come to a character in Mallrats, meaning Ben Affleck's character in Mallrats, it's very, I hate to say it, but it's very, his dialogue is so forced. Like it's so forced. It's almost like
you can see him trying to find himself, the way to deliver the lines. Yeah, I totally.
Because he's like you're gonna be a bully, but you're not gonna be a bully, and he goes,
yeah,
well, how am I gonna do that? And that's what comes out of that character, is the bully,
because he's basically the same character he was in Dazed and Confused.
Yeah.
So what do you have next on your list?
Oh, well, I mean, the thing that I kind of one of the things that I caught, and I know it's so weird to think that you catch these things now as you watch them, but scene when, of course, they meet Jay and Silent Bob in front of the pet store, it's such a great scene. It's such a good introduction to Jay and Silent Bob, introduction to the aesthetic But when, after they're back and forth and him doing the berserker attack, yeah, Dogma is going to be a great one. It's going to be my
you have
favorite.
to come back for Dogma.
Yes, yeah. But it's when he's smoking in the mall. He's smoking in the mall, and I was like, this is, how the hell are you smoking in the mall? That's insane.
But it was okay in the 90s.
Yeah. I was like, it's 95 and he's smoking in the mall. That was
agree.
That's insane. And then on the glass for the pet store, and I never noticed it because I'm actually watching the movie. I'm actually critiquing the movie. On the pet store, it says gerbils, gerbils, gerbils.
Mm-hmm. I noticed it this time too.
I saw that. And I was like, that's pretty damn funny right there from the beginning.
Call it back too.
Yes, yeah.
And that's funny. The introduction of Jay and Silent Bob is they didn't want Jason Mewes to play. They wanted Breckin Meyer, Seth Green, and I forget who else they wanted. That wouldn't have worked because you can't have Jay is Jay. Just dialed up more.
Yeah.
In the old days, they were.
Yes, I mean, of course, you could do it everywhere. I mean, we all grew up in the night. I mean, your parents, had ashtrays in the car. They had them in the house.
McDonald's.
But yeah, that's right. And McDonald's and Burger King, they had the little tins,
Yeah.
But it was just crazy to think that he's there soaking in the mall, and you're just like, that's like who would do that? But yeah, that was one of the things that caught my caught my eye there.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I'm going off memory. I was gonna have the movie playing, so I could remember, but I forgot to put it in.
I think we need to start doing that from here on out. You just
I think I will. We'll just hit it, start before we go live, so we kind of like a watch along.
Yeah, kind of like putting it behind us,
Yeah.
That's yeah, but like what in those scenes where they're just coming into the mall, they're noticing some things, and that's where that kind of got me too, was the I had it down that I was like, I think one of the things was they're using the mall for catharsis. Really, like that's one of the weird things, is like they're using this area where you can still hang out, you can still go, but Brody uses it for catharsis. Like that's the place to go. Mine was always like either like the arcade, it would be like the bookstore when I was a younger teenager. When I first got my license, I would go to these.
Mine was the comic book store.
Yeah,
that's why I love Brody so much. It was I'd always go to the comic book store, man. If I need to clear my head, comic book store I went.
Oh yeah, no, there was some, for me it was always just driving around. There were some places that I would go. We had some local bookstores. I would just go in there and just chill and find a couple things I wanted to read, and to get away from it. That's right. I mean, it was just a place where you could just go and turn your mind off. I mean, of everything, like literally turn your mind off. And that was I think that's a part of this too that you can't look away from. I mean, of course, there's the banter back and forth, there's the dialogue and everything like that, but the banter of just, he's like, let's go to the mall. Like that's to ease our simultaneous double loss, if you will. Let's go to the mall.
How do you think we're introduced around that time to Trish the Dish?
I wrote some stuff down
in
about
this
that
day
too.
and age.
It did not well. No,
it did not age well at all.
No, I actually wrote some stuff.
How do you think that would be handled today?
Yeah, I mean, well, first off, let's see. Capri says mine is Barnes Nobles, but mine is in the mall. So, in fact, yes, that's true. A lot of Barnes Nobles attached to malls nowadays. Mine was a B. Dalton back in the day.
Oh, I loved B. Dalton.
B. Dalton. That's how old we are. That's how old kids nowadays go. What the hell is a B. Dalton? But no, I wrote down, like, literally from that scene. I wrote down. I was like, 15, gross, almost predicting the future. I was like, that's literally what I wrote down. Like, I was like predicting the future and being so gross. And I was like, there you go. You have a scene where a 15-year-old is supposed to be acting like an adult. And of course, the character is played by an adult, but, looking like a kid. But, like, talking, I mean, she is owning her sexuality.
Yeah, I agree, Mike.
True, and it doesn't come off as predatory. It doesn't, because she is the one who is doing all the work. She's the one doing everything, but still just the idea of being a parent,
Yeah.
and like B, just knowing the world and the way the world works today. I
Mhm.
looked at that scene and I was like, oh, it's fucking
Yeah.
gross. Like, I was like,
And
it's
then when you
so
fast
gross.
forward to the end, when you see an
Yeah.
adult getting that teenager from behind,
Yes.
you're like, oh, like, I
Yeah.
mean, even it's
Like,
fake. We know it's fake.
yeah. Like, you
That,
know,
yeah.
but it's just so gross. Like, as an adult, you come back and you look at that.
Mhm.
Oh, it's so gross. Like, you just, especially again, just having kids and like knowing, still out of pocket,
Yeah.
but more palatable. Yeah, it is, because that's the whole thing about that scene. And first off, letting your 15-year-old kid in a mall, like, I mean, back in the day, it wasn't a big deal. Nobody's
Yeah.
gonna, but like now, with the amount of people that get kidnapped and taken and raped and all that other stuff, like, you just, like, oh God, it's so, you
Yeah.
know, you know, it's, oh, I thought that's right. I did. I had to explain myself at the beginning. They're right here because they have such a bad glare. I had to explain that I was not. I'm the bearded two eyes man.
Yeah.
Right. So what it was.
Yeah. I mean, that's a little rough. That part
It
of the
is.
movie was rough.
Yeah, it was. It was, and that was one of the things I literally wrote down. I like 15 gross. Like, it's right there. Like,
Yeah.
And
then I think shortly after that, they are bebopping around the mall, and they see a line to go to the comic book store.
Yes.
I love that line. I love this
Yep.
scene. You think somebody that reads comics can't start some shit? I love
That's
that line. That's one of my favorite lines too.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was what I came. That was my thing next. The elevator. I wrote elevator.
Oh, yeah, I forgot the elevator scene because
but actually, we jumped past one of my favorite dialogues of all time was when
Michael?
tell him Steve Dave, fuck you, fanboy.
Yeah.
But
And that's the birthplace of Tell Him Steve Dave.
But my favorite is the Man of Steel quote debate in the food court. Like, that's my favorite line. That's one of my favorite whole, like, middle scenes of the movie, where it doesn't take away from the movie. It doesn't really add anything, but it adds something in my mind, and it's always stuck there forever. Is when he's like, I bet he shoots a load like a shotgun right through her back. That's one of the greatest lines of all time. Because my favorite, superhero of all time has always been Superman. It just always was, always resonated with me. I'm just one of those people. I'm not a comic book guy, but the idea of Superman, the idea of this guy who has to literally hold back all of his powers, and then when he does help humanity, it's could be at his own detriment. It's just something that really, but I always love, people always say, Superman had so many powers. I was like, he did, because he was an alien, but at the end of the day, he's Superman. I mean, that was what his character became. He was Superman. That's like, it's in the name. Like, he's not super, he's not okay, decent guy. He's Superman. Like, that's what I tried to explain to somebody. But like, I just always love that line about that. He's like, he'd have to bang regular chicks with a kryptonite condom, but that would kill him.
And that's what got Kevin Smith to write a Superman script, which is funny. I love that story.
Yeah, it's so good, because I mean, they talk about that, and then of course it goes on to the escalator. The escalator scene is just so good. Yeah,
that's every time I can't go anywhere I go with it. That scene always plays in my head.
Yeah,
that's an iconic scene.
Anywhere that there's an escalator, I always think of that, or I always think of rest in peace, Mitch Hedberg, one of my favorite comedians of all time. Mitch Hedberg was the one that always said, "You'll never see a escalator out of order sign. You'll just see an escalator temporarily stairs." Like, I just always love that line. It's just so good, but it's true. But that scene is just so iconic too. For anybody who went through the malls, they know that the escalators always, we're going, and so definitely good for sure.
Okay, I think we got. I don't remember because I watched this last week and I got a terrible memory. We get Brody, Shannon, Doherty, and Fashionable Male Dude in the mall or in the elevator. And I love that scene because it's like, haha, the nerd won. Just for a moment. The nerd gets to win. Even though he's having sex with his ex-girlfriend. It's a win.
No, Yeah, like Capricious Road. No libido to attack, and of course they
Hmm.
go at it. But I noticed there was a couple things now as I'm older, that I noticed about that scene that really just boggle my mind to this day. I'm like, any elevator, if you hit the button, the door's gonna open. Like,
Hmm.
there's no way that door is gonna stay closed in the entire,
Yeah.
for for whatever 10, 15, 20 minutes that they're in there. There's no way that the doors
Yeah.
stay closed. And that elevator is extremely larger than any elevator on the
Yeah.
history.
I didn't notice that until this time I watched how big it was.
You could fit like an entire room in that elevator.
Hmm.
So that's one thing. But that's what I'm saying. Like those were the things that really like bugged me, because I'm like, I've lived in apartment buildings that had elevators, and gone to
Hmm.
school in places that had elevators. Like the minute you hit that button, the door is going to open right back up again.
Yeah.
Unless there's somebody in there holding the door close button, which you can, and it won't open,
Yeah.
but you have to be in there holding that button. A glass back
Yeah. I
blitz.
didn't
Yeah.
never notice that.
Yes. Yeah.
I never noticed that. Um, yeah, I like that scene. Then you get the Easter Bunny scene. I
Yeah.
love that too.
Mhm.
You get to beat the shit out of the
That's
Easter
right.
Bunny.
Yes. Yeah. That's the. I was like, when I love that line when he's like, when he talks about glowing, he's like, you have a newfound glow about you.
Hmm.
He's like, I'd be glowing if I banged anybody in that elevator, present company included. Like, I just love that line, because it's another good Brody line right there, of
Yeah.
course.
And then you get because we've already talked about genocide busting in on Joey Lauren Adams, which her character in this isn't very. I mean, her acting is not good in this, but I think she got better in Chasing Amy.
Yes. Now I'm one of those people that, like, based on how we're going to do this, Chasing Amy is definitely one of Kevin Smith's movies that I've literally watched once. And
Really?
it wasn't something that really held my interest even from watching it the first time. I was just like, oh, okay,
I absolutely love that movie.
Yeah, and I think as an adult now, because when I watched it before, I think I was like 18 when I watched it the first time, so it wasn't necessarily something that it would like piqued my interest. But going back, I think I'm going to have an enjoyable time probably rewatching it.
I
Because
hope you do. I can't wait till that's our next movie coming.
Yes.
So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. Okay, so we got the elevator scene. We got the Easter Bunny scene. We haven't got the Stan Lee yet. Now, this is Stanley's one of Stanley's first cameos before Marvel movies.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, that's where you can say, like, I mean, you can literally see that Kevin had this idea of bringing somebody who was a legend in his field into this, and as you can see, it was a comic book movie based on people who enjoyed comic books and things of that nature. I didn't know who Stan Lee was even when he was in the because I didn't grow up.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're not a comic book guy, so I get that. I totally get that.
So after watching it the first time, and I was like, Stan Lee, and I was like, oh, that's the guy that did the Marvel comics, I believe. I remember when I was a little kid, I was like, I think Marvel was the ones that he did, and then he starts naming them all off, and I was like, wow, he did all those? That's kind of neat. I was like, I'm learning things as I'm watching the movie.
A little bit of knowledge in there. I love that. He looks so young in that. He looked amazing. No pun intended, Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah.
He looked amazing. I like how there's a little callback to Mallrats in the Captain Marvel movie. You see Stan Lee, his cameo Captain Marvel is he's reading a Mallrats script.
Yes, that's right.
What's up, Del? Thank you.
What's up,
Del? As always,
Del. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate it.
We're talking Mallrats. What happens after
talking Stan Lee cameo based on one of the first ones ever?
Yeah, because he wasn't known in mainstream media like he is now.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, when you get a pop figure, you've made it.
That ain't no kid.
Yeah. That's about it. No, I'll tell you one of the things that, and actually we're almost at that point. They come out of the, and that's where I hearken myself back to was the Jay busting in on Joey Lauren Adams like a couple times now, and I was like, that was the, the what about the thing? Is the dork made out of water? That's right. but that's superhero sex organs. You better get them checked out for that. But no, was that's where when they said about the Porkies for the new generation, I was like,
You see it there.
was that was like it was the amount of tits that were in this movie. I was like, I was like, they were like, oh, you need something, I was like, it's the 90s, you can't do 80s nudity like you did. I mean, because the 80s nudity was like, like everybody
Full
was
frontal.
like, what's R? Yeah, it's like it's R, it's full
Yeah.
frontal. I was like, PG-13, we're gonna at least get a couple pair of boobies, and that's what he did. I mean, it was like that's what he did, and but I was like, that's where when his head crashed, when Kevin Smith's head crashes between the crotch of that girl on the thing, and that's where his head goes. I was like, these were the the comedy, but the tits and ass jokes of this movie were based on a lot of that, aesthetic, where he's crashing on her when she's changing, and then Joey Lauren Adams changing it literally in the store, so that's a lot of that. I wrote that down too. That was one of the things I was, was the things I wrote down as I've gotten older. As I noticed, I was like, again, the Porkies for the new era was just the amount of, they were like, we gotta have some boobs.
And then speaking of boobs, they go to I call it an antique mall.
Yes, so the Dirt Mall, yeah, of course. Yeah, I love the Dirt Mall. I saw that as like in the thing, and I was like, God, I wish I could go to that now. I bet there'd be awesome stuff.
All kinds of movies.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. That is the girl that replaced what's her face in Three's Company, right?
It could be. I don't.
And Michael,
Priscilla Barnes. Yeah, Priscilla Barnes. I know she was in a goodly amount of stuff, back in the day. I don't know where he got her from, but I mean,
I could be totally wrong.
Yeah, but even as an older chick, she was, in that
she looked good.
She's a good looking gal. Yeah,
and I love Brody's reaction.
Yeah,
he's
like, holding his eyes up like that. No, she was. It's a great scene. But I'll tell you, one of the things we jumped from, and one of the things I think we go back to, and when I always liked it, was when they talk about the spooning metaphor, where Brody's like, you can't put your arm, you don't know where to put your arm in the thing, and for anybody who's not seen it, basically Brody describes, there you go, nailed it. Yeah, good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, good job. But if you've not seen it, Brody tries to talk about when you're spooning somebody, where to put your arm, because you can't put it above your head, you can't put it in between, you can't put it over you because it's gonna fall asleep. He's like, that was like, where am I gonna put my arm? That's a metaphor for my whole relationship. And I was like, I always thought that was great.
Yeah,
that's one of the greatest, underrated, kind of metaphors in any movie ever, because it definitely works. Because if you've ever been in a relationship, that's kind of true.
Really, especially at that age.
Yes,
you're young and you think you know everything, and you think you're right all the time.
100%. Yeah, like it's just like I don't know what to do with this part. Yes, for the fortune. Oh God, the fortune.
I can imagine.
Probably so bad. I'm sure it's probably so bad.
Now, Michael, tell me, didn't they use somebody else's voice for Jason Mewes?
Yeah,
I think they did. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure they used a whole different actor to dub his voice.
It's amazing. A lot of these movies, when they cut them for TV, they put bad lines in there, and I was like, I think one of my favorite ones ever, just going off topic here, was a movie cut for TV, was the original Austin Powers, when he's in the airplane, he goes, "Do I make you Randy?"
What's up, Nate? How you doing, man?
Again, hey, what's up, Nate?
Thank you, man.
Yeah, appreciate that. But he says, "Do I make you Randy?" Or then Randy again. Like they cut out the word horny on TV. I was like, that's terrible. Why would they? But yeah, it's a lot of those movies when they cut them for TV.
Okay, but I knew it was something. There's a couple ADR lines that the dub sounds nothing like Muse.
Yeah.
Hey, Nate.
Yeah, there's some great. I mean, that whole scene with the fortune teller, it's so good. But it's I don't know if it again truly adds anything to the whole movie.
It don't.
It doesn't. Just another scene where boobs. Yeah, that's it. tits and tits. No really ass in the tits and ass part of the 80s aesthetic, 90s aesthetic. But you get the boobs. That's what this goes on here.
And then they race back, right? They race back to the mall, and they're like, Jay.
Well, that's where a huge continuity error that I found was because when they cut back to the game show about to start, one of the guys says, the guy says, now I replaced last voice for that. That's true, but he says, I hear the Easter Bunny was accosted earlier this morning. I'm like, how late is it in the day? If the Easter Bunny was accosted,
because isn't it dark when they leave?
Yes, it's getting dark outside. So I'm like,
they come back and it's daylight.
Literally just happened like in the movie, like 45 minutes to an hour ago. When they say this morning, I'm like, that line literally does not make any sense. Like, but they do race back, and of course we can't forget the whole stink palming scene. I mean, that's
iconic too.
It's 90s gross out right there. People talk about, a lot of 90s gross out things, Beavis and Butthead, Ren and Stimpy. I was like, that's part of that 90s gross out type humor.
Yeah.
Right there.
And for sure. You still see chocolate covered pretzel things throughout thing. You see that in their merchandise and all over the place. So that's classic.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's true. That's probably I'm sure that is just horrifying to watch. Showgirls on VH1 probably not that good. When another one of those ones that was, I literally found a copy of that out one time that was an NC-17 rating of Showgirls. I was like, oh, that's cool. I have this copy. I'm sure the TV version is just blasphemy.
I bet
it's just horrible.
Then they rush back.
Because they're starting the game show.
Yeah, they're starting the game show. Then you see an appearance by
Dante.
Yeah. Well, that's Hicks. But Walt Flanagan, you see another appearance by Walt Flanagan. He's got dreads, I think. Yeah, he has dreadlocks in this.
I'm pretty sure.
He's one of the stagehands, isn't he?
Yes, and then Scott Mosier is actually his assistant. Scott Mosier. So you're like, oh, that's cool. That's Snowball from the first one.
Snowball.
So that's it's neat how he puts all of his friends in these different characters. But
the highlight of the movie to me is the game show.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely has its its parts. Very, very bad and good at the same time. It's got its good dialogue moments for sure. But Brody's the one that steals.
Yeah,
the show. You can't have the game show without Brody.
Yeah, I love that whole scene. And I don't know how this is the part that kind of irritates me too. How did she not recognize both their voices right off
immediately? Yeah, like that's I mean, I guess it's that cognitive dissonance that you would you're not sitting there going, you can't think that it's the people immediately. You want to think that it's probably somebody else. Like your brain might be playing tricks on you, but after a minute or two, you're like, it's them. That's for sure. Yeah, I mean, and then I'll tell you, and then again, there's another thing when he, with the pretzel scene, when he slaps him on the hand, and then when he's talking to the TV executives, he talks about the governor's ball, and he talks about my neighbor, and I was like, and he's like, oh, if it isn't my neighbor, that for when he talks about Brody, these are two pieces of information that unless you see that beginning scene, you'll never know what the hell they mean. Because I remember watching it for the first time back in the day, and he was like, oh, if it isn't my neighbor, and then he talks about, oh, I hope you didn't have, it's going to turn out as bad as the governor's ball thing does. I'm like, you're like, what happened there? You don't know, but he talks about him being his neighbor, quote unquote his neighbor in the first one, in that deleted scene. So that's one you come back to.
I hold that to being Kevin Smith's second film, him still finding himself.
Yes,
I don't think he would have allowed that continuity many continuity errors through a movie now. There's just no way.
No, because
he's cutting it as he's filming it, And yeah, just rookie move.
Oh yeah, I mean, you're only talking your second film in for the whole, the whole shebang there, and so of course you're gonna have little flaws here and there, and those of us who are the film nerds, we catch those. Go, how did, like, what are you even talking about? Because I remember, when he says about it's my neighbor, and he puts that emphasis on it. You go, well, where's that? I don't understand where that's coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like I said, I love Brody in the scene.
Oh yeah,
Michael likes Gil Hicks.
of course, yeah. I mean, just
Yeah.
he says this stuff. He's like when they first introduce him in the background, and he pushes him when he says that's not what happened, and he pushes him.
Did he tell me he kissed a dude or something
Yeah,
like that?
like it's like I saw you kiss a dude backstage, and he wasn't impressed. That's true.
I dig that.
Yeah, that was, and I even wrote that. I was like, about that scene when the guy says, I was like, these guys literally had to be at this mall from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. They literally had to be there almost 12 full hours for this all to take place the way it did. I was like, that's a huge amount of time to literally be at the mall when most of us to an hour or two, max when we were younger.
Yeah, 2 hours the most.
Yeah,
you only had a certain amount of money.
Of course, I mean, there's no reason you just hang out. But for those speaking about the game show, I wrote there about the Brody's story about his cousin, on the airplane.
Oh, the jerking off.
That's the jerking off airplane.
Yes.
Such a good story,
He takes his piece out. Yes.
Everybody puts their pieces back or whatever,
Yeah.
But it's such a good story because you can see everybody going, like, they're just trying to listen in, they want.
And then Gil's like, "What happened?
Well, did he come or did he?" Like, God, there's just some things you don't tell in public, man.
Yeah.
Oh,
I love it.
Yeah, Brody's character, definitely, if it wasn't for his character in that game show, that would have been a terrible scene.
Yeah. He carries it. And I'll say Brody carries this movie.
Oh, he does.
First time act. I mean, I think they said he had a small role in another movie. I don't know what it was. And
I think it was Drawing. I think it was Drawing Flies. I think Jason Lee was in Drawing Flies first. But that's one I've never seen that one, but I know because he's on the front cover of that.
Yeah, I mean, he was a retired skateboarder. I think for the first time, he does pretty well. This movie ends. Basically, how it's going to end. Everybody gets there.
Yes.
And then when Shannon Doherty's character goes, I love him.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what's and again, this is a I've actually seen it out so many times. I've never bought it. I probably should have, because that's on the independent label there, and I know that. That's literally what it's called, the independent label. But the one thing that they, again, certain phrases that they use in this movie that I know he wouldn't write these into the scripts now, is that like there's twice almost in that end scene where he's like, they're both retarded, you're both retarded for each other. He uses the R word, and of course, quote unquote, the R word now in that. But I was like, it's such 90s dialogue that of course none of us ever, and I have to always say what Tom Segura said in his thing. Nobody of us ever used it in the phrase like, "Oh, look, there's one over there." We never used it like that.
No, it wasn't meant that way.
It was never used that way. Nobody did that, because nobody was callous enough or insensitive enough to use it like that. Yeah. You just always used it to describe a situation. And in this case, that's when he said, he was like, "You two are retarded for each other," meaning like you're just head over heels for each other. That's what he meant. And of course, that's how it was taken. Even in the dialogue, you just know that. But I was like, there's just parts of that now that he would go back and he would try to write it that way, and they'd be like, you can't say that. It's not PC.
You can't say that. And I think Muse even uses faggot a couple times.
Yeah, I mean, he does in Clerks, of course.
Okay, maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, that's where it was,
Okay.
That's where he uses that for sure. And
you wouldn't be able.
I know, they'd be like, they'd be scorning you so bad.
You get canceled so fast. Yeah.
But that's the thing. But I mean, thank God for people like Trey Parker and Matt Stone who use it
Yeah.
in an entire episode. And they're like, we don't care. We're gonna still use it till the day
Yeah.
long. We don't give a shit because we're not using it in that way.
You're
Where
not
you
using the derogatory. Yeah.
describe a situation again. That's the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because the idea of the English language, if you can't get past the idea that some words are used to describe situations versus what maybe a terrible connotation of it was in the past, like that's where your own brain won't let you get past that, because we all we use words to describe other things, and I know like that was what Tom Segura said in his one stand up. He was talking about the R word. He was like, we never used to describe someone. It was a situation where your friend was like, I'm gonna pick you up and we'll take your bags back to my place, and then we'll go back to your place, and then we'll get some other stuff, and then we'll go back to you. Why would we do that? That's retarded. Like that.
Yeah.
That was exactly why
Yeah.
you say it like that in that fashion. So and in this case, that's when she, even when they're in the elevator, Shannon Doherty says it again. She's like, the effort, you retard. The effort was like that. Yes, none of exactly. We never, none of us ever used it. The intent is always what is, I guess, implied, if you will, but none of us ever had the intent to hurt people. It was always literally about a situation versus someone.
That's just the difference between our generation
Mm-hmm.
and today's generation.
Yes.
You can even see Jay and Silent Bob. They kind of push. They start to come into this generation,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not as edgy.
No, I mean
they don't push that envelope
Reboot.
like they did.
Oh God, Reboot. That was one of the things I was like, they've lost their edge. They're just old men now trying to act like teenagers.
Yeah.
I was like, if you're gonna keep that aesthetic, if you're gonna keep that aesthetic, you gotta go full on that aesthetic from where you started. You can't just if
I would have liked them to see them make fun of this generation, poke at the generation instead of embracing.
Because they kind of go woke.
The silliness of this generation.
Yeah.
That in my head, that's where they should have went, and that's what I think they would have done. They wouldn't have. I don't want to.
It's hard to go. I mean, but I understand, because if you're trying to sell it to a new audience and you're trying to sell it, it is.
Yeah,
I agree. I
100% agree.
But I'll tell you, from someone who always looks at something I always try to look at it from a 40,000 foot view instead of just right on. That was one of the things that I noticed about that was what, you take two aging hipsters from the 90s and you bring them into 2023 and you go, wow, that dialogue is going to be toned down a lot. And it was. It
really was.
And that's when you sit there and go, you can't
even toned down from Jay and Silent Bob. Back. It really was.
Yes. I mean, that's what, and one of the things that my wife said earlier, and she was watching part of it with me, she goes, how can this movie be more ridiculous than Jay and Silent Bob? And I was like, because it was his second effort. That's why it has that little bit of ridiculousness to it, with his Kevin Smith toys and him pulling out the rubber doll and pulling out the vibrator. There was that sophomoric attitude going on towards it. But it that's what I mean. They were patient zeros when you come to the idea of two dudes who were just dope dealers standing on beside a building. Like that's just what their thing was. That, and you think about
edge.
Yeah, but I mean, think about that. You literally, he wrote movie after movie after movie about two weed dealers who stood in front of a store. That is where you start. And like he sent it off into the stratosphere when it came to that kind of storyline,
He made I don't think anybody nowadays can make a career out of that.
No.
There's no way. There's no way that he caught lightning in a bottle. And us, his fans,
yes,
just keep coming back. Because there's always something in this. Even though I'm not a big fan of Mallrats, there's stuff in here I like, and
100%.
And we will always come back, and we will always buy the new copy of Mallrats.
Yep.
We will buy um, every 4K that comes out of his.
Yes. Yeah. No, I agree there. And I mean, it's like that was one of the things that I noticed about, you know, was, a lot of this movie was stuff that, again, I didn't notice the first, half dozen times that I watched it. And I've literally at least watched this movie at least 20 times in my life, if not more so.
Yeah.
And, it's just one of those ones you could put on even as background fodder for whatever else you're doing. And you'll listen in on your favorite parts, and you'll tune out the rest of it. And you catch a few things here and there, but, and just the idea of, it being a second foray into the feature length film, and everybody's going to have their jitters. Everybody's going to have their, what do I do with this kind of money? What do I do with this kind of, they're giving me a huge budget that I've never seen before. I mean, what do? They literally 10 times this budget, when somebody literally gives you 10 times the money you had before, where you're like, well, we could try this, and
and he still wanted to make it with his friends, and they said, no, you can't make this with your friends. This is a big budget movie for him.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. That was.
And what they say, that was $6 million, right, to make the movie.
I think so. Yeah, that's what Michael said.
But that's 90s money, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of fucking money.
Yeah.
For the 90s.
Yeah. No, the original commentary is top tier. Yeah, I throw that on. Yeah, I throw that. Yeah, I mean, because they talk about so much stuff in that, and he talks about just being so young and so not, now you think Kevin Smith, you think almost like antiquated part of the movie business, but then, in 95, he was still fresh, still new, somebody that wanted to make a name for himself in it, and he was definitely trying, for sure.
I mean, what's your closing thoughts on this movie?
Again, just to appreciate that, definitely a solid but lacking second effort. Again, it's very much one where there's still positive elements to this day, things that I look at, things that I still say, lines that the idea of it being, even versus the 1 through 5 scale, I would say it's a B minus. Like if you're gonna go that scale, I was like, if you go to the A, it's a B minus to me, because there's so much more that I could have enjoyed, but there's still so much that I did enjoy, and there's still so much that I'm going to enjoy to this day. So about 13 million today's money. That's a lot of money.
It is.
But filming basically your entire movie in one set area is not, that probably helped a lot. But again, just going back and just saying that, it's a solid second effort, that's for sure.
I'm gonna go a little lower. We're gonna do the grade scale, I'm gonna go C plus. C plus. I hadn't watched this movie since I bought that Blu-ray, and that was in 2020. I think it was 2020. But Dell says, fun fact: Method Man of the Wu-Tang Clan counts Mallrats among his all-time. That's awesome.
There's a lot of people that probably do,
and he's in Jay and Silent Bob reboot. Typed it twice.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with, like I said, C plus. I liked it more when I was
yes.
But what I love about this movie is it got everybody involved. It brought everybody in to the Kevin Smith world.
Yes.
And I love meeting people that, especially out in public, because I have a lot of Kevin Smith shirts. And I was out of town getting gas, and I had a Fat Man on Batman shirt.
Oh, nice.
And somebody just stopped me and said, hey man, love your shirts. I love that podcast. I said, I do too. You just talk to this dude for like maybe 5-10 minutes, and before, there's no one around me, like locally, that I talk to that know likes Kevin Smith movies, and I always appreciate um, the world and the fans of Kevin Smith.
Mhm.
And I think this movie is what started all that.
Oh yeah, I mean, like technically, I said it was my very first own of
Yeah,
a Kevin Smith movie. You know, I didn't own anything else until um, probably Dogma on DVD. I mean, I know Chasing Amy came out before that, but
yeah,
it was the idea that something so kind of off the beaten path was so good. And again, it's like the fifth movie I've ever bought. That copy that I showed everybody earlier, that's literally from 99 or 2000. I mean, it's a
yeah.
24-year-old DVD that I'm holding on to right there. It's a lot older than some of the people maybe even watching this.
You're right.
It does. But that's what I'm saying. Like that's it's crazy to think that,
Yeah, Michael.
I think a lot of us could, but there's off-putting moments. There's moments that you're just like, oh, the acting is so bad. But I think what overplays the bad acting is just the idea of the script itself, it was supposed to be lighthearted. It was supposed to be fun. It wasn't, no one's sitting there going, oh, this is going to win some Academy Awards. They weren't
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I just think for me, Clerks set the bar
Mhm.
for I don't know. There's to me, I keep saying it. There's more meat in Clerks on the
Mhm.
bone than there is on Mallrats,
Yes.
but that's okay.
Yeah. It's
Um,
it's surface level gags. It's sight
yeah,
gags. It's slapstick. It's a little wordplay here and there, but that was the end of, that was the goal at the end of the day, were just those, I think those three or four things that I just mentioned that really drove home this aesthetic of this movie.
one thing we both forgot to mention in this movie
Mhm.
is Ethan Suplee. I think that's how you say his name.
Yes, Suplee,
So,
Suplee.
yeah,
Yeah. Mhm.
dude, his transformation from that movie to what he looks like now,
Jeez
dude
Louise.
is a monster.
Oh yeah, he's
Ah,
definitely
dude, I
the
tip
dude.
my hat to him.
Yeah,
He's
tip of the cap to him as well. I mean, the
mhm,
fact is, he went from, you know, being,
looking like me.
oh, literally. Well, I mean, no, I don't know about that, but I mean, meaning like you're way thinner than he is, even in his. But like I even wrote that on here. I said, Ethan Suplee. I wrote next to his, pretty much right next to his name. I was like, 90s staple. I mean, he was in Boy Meets World, a couple episodes of Boy Meets World. He was a character in that, and so he had some things going on there. But yeah, very different guy now than he
Yeah,
was, and that's
he
for
looks amazing. He
Mhm.
looks fantastic. I seen him
Yeah.
in what did I watch him in just recently? It was Dog with
Mhm.
is it Channing Tatum? How you say that name?
Channing
Uh,
Tatum. Yeah.
yeah. And, oh man, he was a monster in that.
Hmm.
Just yeah, just tip my
Yeah.
hat.
The guy took a total complete 180 on his life and his lifestyle, and just took it in the whole opposite direction.
Yeah,
Wish I had that. Wish I had that dedication.
me too. So that's really it with Mallrats, man.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
that's
I
really
love
about it.
these talks.
Yeah, for anybody who hasn't checked it out, I mean, Movie Hunter, yeah,
Yeah, movie hunter, dude.
definitely want
If
to.
you own it, put it in while you're doing some house cleaning or something.
Yeah,
Because
you know,
this is not a visual movie you need to see.
no,
Just listen.
yeah.
Um,
Listen, it's a Kevin Smith movie, so you want to
yeah.
listen. You don't necessarily have There's parts that you don't necessarily have to watch.
Um,
But I will say, I always tell people, if you have a copy and if you never had the chance, listen to the commentary and look at those
mhm,
deleted scenes, because it's
yeah.
definitely going to add a lot more substance to what could have been if it was an uncut movie.
Yeah.
Versus, if it had been like a 2 hour long movie, it wouldn't have been nearly as good, because there would have been so much dead space. That's
All
what
right.
you'll see in the deleted scenes for sure. Yeah.
He says the same thing.
Yep.
So our episode 3
Hmm.
will be in June-ish, maybe.
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay. Hold on here. And it's been I felt ball breaking during the
Yeah.
conversation. So it makes me yeah. We'll be looking at his third film, Chasing Amy, which is still one of my all-time favorites.
Yep.
I love that movie. There's so much meat to unpack on that bone.
Hmm. Yeah, I can't
No pun
I
intended.
watch it again.
But yeah, we don't have a date yet.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we're gonna be doing that. I hope you guys all come back to
Please
talk
do.
Chase and Amy.
Please. Everybody
And
hit that like button, smash it.
yeah, hit the like, hit the subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe, please.
Chasing Amy is your favorite, Caprice?
I think it might be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, I definitely appreciate that, Michael.
Yeah, Michael.
You know, it's
We appreciate your fact checking.
yes, yeah, and you know, I noticed that even after we kind of Rich and I were kind of looking at the views from the last one. They kind of popped up there after a while, and they started reaching the triple digit. I was like,
Yeah.
I think we're reaching some folks here with
Yeah,
the
we really appreciate
commentaries.
you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
I know there's a lot of streams going on. There's a lot of flashier channels.
Y'all could have been somewhere else, but you spent your time. I definitely appreciate that.
Yeah, we really do. Anything you want?
No, I mean, just obviously, you know, and I always try to tell everybody anytime I'm on one of these things, hit me up on, you know, Instagram there. Definitely appreciate that. Yeah. Subscribe to everybody who was in the chat, everybody here, you know, Turner fans. Definitely appreciate it. Thank you, Caprice. Definitely appreciate that. I'm on Instagram as Bearded Four Eyes Man. I specialize in, you know, rare and out of print DVDs. That's what I specialize in. And if you ever want to hit me up and chat about what might be in your collection, what might be rare, what might be out of print, what might be valuable, you know,
this guy knows.
Appreciate that. Yeah, I've been collecting, you know, DVDs since '99 and had my hand in the game for that long. So just, you know,
that's awesome. He's got some cool gems.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that.
I think tomorrow night over on my other partner in crime, David, the 4K Lowdown on his channel.
Great guy. Everybody should.
I love David. Well. Yeah, David. Go subscribe to his channel too.
Yes, please
4K
do.
Lowdown. Every Wednesday, we look at 5 movies that are new releases, either in theater, physical media, streaming, and we rate them and see if you guys should check them out, or skip them. That's tomorrow.
Every once in a while, I jump in there too. So you know, just you know.
Yeah, you jumped in last week. Yeah, I appreciate
that.
It's 8:30 over on the 4K Lowdowns channel. So just hopefully you guys can check us out there. And thank you, Caprice. I really appreciate you joining us tonight.
Everybody, thank you.
Yeah, everybody. You were a new face to me. So again, thank you, Del, thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
God bless.
Yes.
The Movie
Everybody
Hunter.
Take care of yourselves, and you know, thank you, Movie Hunter, again. Obviously, being here, and appreciate that. And everybody, just have yourselves a great evening.
Remember, be kind to one another.
It's true.
Take care.
Take care.